Welcome, everybody. My name is Henrique Demore here with Razer and their Win It Your Way campaign. I am joined by the one, the only Paladin Amber, variety streamer from Down Under. Amber, it is really, really early for you, but as you told me, gamer hours means you're awake whenever you need to be. Regardless, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Good, I'm good. Yeah, I always like to say it's like midnight somewhere. It's game hours somewhere.
Tell me about yourself. I mean, me, obviously, I know everything I'm supposed to know because I'm a prepared interviewer, but hypothetically, for those that might not, tell us about yourself, your streaming journey, where it got started, and where you're at right now with your content.
People like to, you know, say like there's the console versus PC war, but I did actually start streaming on a PlayStation. From a beanbag, like on a beanbag in my living room. And then, like I fell into it, right? So like I don't think anyone in this industry ever expects. Like I'm so grateful for where I'm at now, but nobody ever really expects the big blow up or like the success that can come with streaming. And so, I started playing Red Dead Redemption and cosplayed as a cowboy a couple of times and I it kind of just grew from there. And now it's like, you know, I have 2 PCs next to me. I'm decked out. I'm kitted in Razer because they've taken care of me so well, but it's like I didn't expect it to get to this point. So when people ask me to explain it, like what's my journey, I'm like, I continued to just keep tripping and tripping and tripping until I landed in success, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
no, it does, and I'd love to get kind of more into that a little bit later. But you talked about kind of this, not even dichotomy, but this relationship that exists between there's the PCs and then the console, the wars and the streamers and the content and whatnot. And personally, when I think Razer, right, I think a little more. It's a little more of like a hardcore gamer brand, or at least that's the first association that comes into my head. And with the rest, some other personalities on this campaign, Faker and Sneaky, as a League of Legends guy myself, I look up to those two a lot. But you are in quite a different lane as far as what you're streaming. Why did you decide that Razer and this campaign was for you?
I have been a gamer for a very long time. Outside of streaming, I mean, I started gaming Modern Warfare back in high school, right? Like, and that was, I'm talking, you had to have a proxy in school so that you could get online, you could play. Like, I mean, I still did my schoolwork because it's very important, but and I have always used, when I say I have always used Razer, like my brother was a massive gamer as well. And I know a lot of people say, oh, that's what influences females in the space. I got a lot of his hand-me-down products, and a lot of those products were either like a Razer headset or it was like a Razer keyboard. And so when I started gaming back then, I was already using Razer without even understanding the level of professionalism that comes with those products. Like you're very right, with Faker and at League of Legends, that's such a OG like
Yeah,
lane in some no pun intended. It's an OG
nice.
lane, like of gaming, but they've always just kind of been there for gamers. And so for me, it was more so like once I started really getting into PC gaming and moving away from console, I was like, I don't know where to start with PCs, but I know where to start with peripherals. Like that was like the one thing in my mind that I was like, it looks clean, it's professional, and also the kitty headset. Let's be real. I
Right.
think every gamer girl starts and they're like, you know what? It sounds great, but cat ears. So yeah, like I never really understood the level of depth that goes into tech, more so than I do now. But like I just knew from the get go, I was like, this is the brand that I want to work with. And then when Razer approached me and said, like, do you want to partner together? I was like, do you want to form an alliance with me? Yes. Like big yes.
So you mentioned the peripherals. What like you said, you probably gained a massive appreciation for what actually goes into streaming and the setup that you have now, and even things like we were talking before off air, like the type of microphone you have, where it's located, all the sound padding and stuff you got going on, and the setup. Everything's very intentional. If let's say me, Joe Schmo, wants to start out and needs a some sort of rudimentary streaming setup, what are the things that for your in your mind, if you were going to say, okay, don't skimp on other things, maybe you don't need the fanciest X, Y, and Z, but what's one thing you can't really skimp on?
Or it's definitely sound quality. It's
Mm.
110% sound quality. And I say that being like, I think, Razor's done a really good job with the Kyos, over the years as well. Those progressions from having the ring light and then now having I think it's the 60 frames. It's like essentially like an actual lens, like a camera lens. It's like 140p, 60 frames. Don't quote me on this
60 frames
because
sounds good. Yeah.
it's very early for me, but essentially it is like a camera quality lens as a webcam, right? So, and that I think is enough to help with your quality. But sound is the one thing that I wish I had of like spent more time learning about or learning about certain things when it comes to like because you have to be your own acoustic engineer and you have to be your own audio engineer. You have to be your own cameraman. You have to be all of these different trades as well. So starting somewhere like researching sound or like figuring out what is the best, like I mean if you're a gamer on the go, as I like to say, like say you don't have a permanent setup or you don't have a space where you can quietly game and you have to move from room to room, having something like a Siren Mini even, which is a condenser mic, can sit anywhere, like, and that is a really good start because it's directional, but it's also focused enough that you can move that with you. So I think it depends on like if you're fresh, and you're really just starting out, you might not have an entire space where you can lock yourself away and have that
Right.
privacy. So you need to be able to move your stuff around. So definitely starting somewhere with like a mini or like a condenser, like the Siren, so that you can have good quality sound to begin with. Because I find a lot of the relationship building or the community building comes from being able to hear each other, I guess. Like
Yeah.
that
No,
sounds so
it sounds
silly,
simple.
but
No,
it's
but you're
true.
right. Yeah.
Good game comms make a world of a difference. It's like a lot of my friends that I have met online now, I've met through games. And nobody likes somebody who gets into a lobby who sounds like their mouth is on their microphone.
Yep.
Do you know what I
Oh yeah,
mean?
no, yeah. I've been in plenty a middle school Modern Warfare 2 lobby. I
Yeah.
mean, like
Yeah.
the YouTube meme, like they just make themselves. Really.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, now it's funny to me, but if I give it 3 years ago, if I'd have gotten a lobby and a kid's got his mic, I would have been like, oh,
Mm.
but yeah, so good quality audio is always like the first starting point, I think.
What sort of kind of switching gears a little bit as you've Razer kind of markets themselves as on their website they say, look, anyone can stream, and that's evidenced by just the fact that I have streamed before, right? But it's just for kind of my friends, and I play some TFT and I do okay, and then I go to bed. But as you've established yourself, and obviously you've had to do a lot of the legwork, but kind of once you've been there, you mentioned Razer reached out to you and said, hey, want to partner, and that was a partnership that made a lot of sense for you. How have they supported you? If it is just gear or just outside of gear, kind of keeping yourself going now that you are more established.
They've taken care of me in a way that's not like they gave me my first opportunity to go to TwitchCon as a
Mm.
creator and work with them as a creator. Like they took a huge gamble on me too, right? Like I was fresh, first couple of years of streaming. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew, hey, I'm kind of good at this and I have ADHD. I can't I'm focused on several different things at once. It makes sense. And Razer took a massive, like, they saw me and they went, yep, and picked me out of a bunch of people who might have been more deserving than I am in that respect. Like, they could have been far more progressed than I was at the time of my career, but they have been that big brother the whole way. Like, Min, I always say Min for me is kind of like the oldest brother because it's like I never really have spoken to him, but he likes most of my Razor tweets or he likes most of my tweets. And so that's a really good feeling for me because I'm like, wow, like it's not just a brand, right,
Right.
that I'm working with. Like there are people who I've worked with in the space who are like who aren't with the company anymore, but I still am so thankful for because they're the reason why I am still here and still doing what I'm doing, like they've given me plenty of opportunities to do things like this, like, interviews and share my story or share my experience. I've they were my first ever real like when we did the Win It Your Way campaign, right? That was my first on-set experience of working with a
Wow.
director and working with people who are creative in the space to bring a vision to life. And that for me is like, I will never forget. Those are like core memories, you
Right.
know? I will never forget those no matter where or what I'm doing. So it's like, yes, they've taken care of me with peripherals and the opportunity to have like new tech and things, but it's like behind closed doors, they've given me the confidence to keep doing what I'm doing. And they've also given me the opportunity to progress and better myself. I mean, and this is the other thing too, like nothing that I've done in this space is out of this world, but it's also not as conventional as everyone else. Like I came into it and I was like, okay, well, you know, I can either take this really seriously and be a professional gamer, or I could be a variety gamer and like never play like a FPS in my life online. But I didn't. I mixed like everything together. And then I was like, okay, now I've got to make really funny, meme content to help myself grow. But then I was like, well, why don't I just do that as well for the brands that I work with? And Razer gave me another opportunity in that to be like, okay, well, we've got XY product. What do you want to do with this? And I'd be like, let me take it into the bush and I'll pretend that it's a snake and I'll capture it in the wild. Like, you know what I mean? And so they're like, okay, go good.
No, and like you said, that's a really nice feeling because that's a sense of trust. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's for me, it's that confidence then that boost. I'm like, wow, they trust me with this thing or to do this idea and to do it. And then they're like, yeah, no, we love it. And I'm like, oh, really?
Wow,
Like,
that's crazy.
I'm like, all I did was, you know, go into the outback, like, okay, cool. And they're like, no, we love it. And I'm like, maybe it is good. For me, it's as much as having a laugh for myself as it is for my audience. So I am like just the class clown. Like I like to have a laugh more so than anything else. So that's how I describe it.
Okay.
It's like going into a class and the loud kid has a microphone. It's not a good, you know. It's like what could possibly go wrong?
God bless the teacher, but man, the students are gonna have a good time.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, honestly, that's no, honestly, that's kind of even for me as someone who is thinking about, oh, you know, what's my brand? How do I establish myself in this space? And I think, you know, people who are specialists, right? They deserve everything that they, you know, can get. Right? It pays and it is valuable to be astro good at one thing. But for me, I mean, I don't know if it's the fellow ADHD in me, but like I love so many things, and I love, you know, doing and playing so many different games, and I have different kind of skills, interests, and stuff that I want to show off. And I think I get a little nervous that like, oh, I'm not creating, you know, a niche for myself. Like, oh, you know, I should just stick to one thing. You know, the hashtag, the content has to be, you know, consistent. The hashtag brand has to be, you know, kind of one thing and go all out on that. Have you found that as well? Or like just kind of like struggling between like, you know, have you had those kind of thoughts about like, do I need to stay in one lane to be quote unquote successful?
Yeah, I think this is more the age old question of like, do we like as a brand, because I know what you mean. It's like there is still branding involved, right? But I also think you're seeing a real switch and a real, I mean, like some of my favorite creators or some of my favorite like content creators. I mean, Matt Pat, for instance. I go to Matt Pat because I want to watch Five Nights at Freddy's game series. That is, I go to him for that specifically. So if Matt Pat started doing daily vlogs, would I watch them? Maybe, but maybe not, you know?
Right.
Whereas it's like a lot of creators now and a lot of community members, they want that real. I mean, like if you got in your car and you spoke about your day and ate food, I think your audience would love that just as much as they would love watching you play League. Because it's more so about like creating that sort of real version of yourself online, you know, instead of being the brand. Like I know I'm Paladin Amber, but at the same time, Paladin Amber, I have always been because I've loved Fallout for years. And it's like I always, every playthrough, I joined the Brotherhood of Steel. So there was nothing false in, I mean,
Right.
not even once did I join the Enclave. Not even once. I couldn't steer away from it. So for me, it's like there's nothing false about the branding of that.
Right.
It is, they've both been parts of me regardless, you know, just the combination of the two of my online and my in real life. And so I think if you're thinking about, oh, do I have to stay in one lane? No, I don't think you do. I think what matters the most is cross promoting or cross pollination with like different platforms, finding your platform that works best for you too, right? Like, and I don't say this in the sense of like, uh, you know, purple versus red. I
Right.
say this in the sense of, like if your content does better in a TikTok format, that is where you should be putting your energy into while still maintaining and nourishing these other platforms too. Like Twitter for me happens to be, and that's just because I am a bit of a shit poster, happens to be one of my best platforms because I use it like a diary. Like I'll sit there and I'll tweet toilet thoughts all day. And sometimes one of them bangs, and then a couple of them are like, we're really concerned about your mental health. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care because it works for me. And that's my most authentic platform. Whereas, like, Instagram might work better, or, even like YouTube shorts might work really well for you. It's just about finding that platform that works the best, nourishing that, but while maintaining the others as well. Because I think, you could play FIFA for the rest of your life, but unless you're promoting that outside of playing that game, no one's going to know what you're doing. And it's
Right.
like maybe you make really funny FIFA TikToks, and that's what bangs, can be very overwhelming with
Sure.
the amount of different platforms we have these days. Like it used to be the simple, you find one, you're either YouTube or you're live streaming and you upload it, or you are live streaming, and now it is like detrimental to your success to be on all these other platforms. But I find that, and this is speaking as somebody who has a very hard to find routine in it, if you have time to scroll, you have time to post. And a
Right.
post can take 5 minutes. Like, don't post with the intention of it being something like mammoth and great and big, because when it doesn't, the expectation is sad, because
And
you're
then,
like,
you, and then you have trouble getting up and moving on. You're like, oh, I put
that's
so much,
right.
just if not even time, just
Effort into
mental
that one
effort and
post.
investment.
That's
Exactly.
right. And so you sit there and you stew on it and your brain makes sad juice again. So it's like, don't do that. Just post something because you find it funny. Because if you find it funny, the audience that you want to build is going to be like you, and they are going to like you. Like, and that's, I say, you're not trying to be everyone's best friend. You're trying to be your biggest supporter and see who enjoys that content,
Yeah.
So like posting out different things all the time, just trying new things. Like it literally takes 5 minutes to think of a bad thought and just sprinkle it onto one of those websites.
Oh, I should put this on the internet. This is definitely where this one belongs.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's some where you're like, well, let's go to the drafts.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to keep that there. We're going to sleep on it. See how we feel about it tomorrow.
See how I feel about it in the morning.
Well, perfect. Then then to kind of wrap here, I feel like again I want to thank you. I feel like I've learned a lot from. I mean, it's just so funny. Like I feel like I could boil a lot of this down into kind of like the advice you're giving and who you are to the world's cheesiest quote, which is just be yourself, right? And
Yep.
and it's so much easier said than done, and that is a battle you never stop fighting.
No, and that's right. But that's what the Win It Your Way campaign was all about. Like, just be you, right? Don't try and be anyone else. And if you're going to, make sure it's the best version of you, right?
Exactly.
Like, don't be anyone else. Just be the best version of you at that time.
Thank you so much for Razor and their Win It Your Way campaign. Paladin Amber, thank you so much for being here with us. I've been Enrique Demore. Take care.